Hello and welcome to Cherries Red Army. Wherever you are in the world, we hope you're having a good week. And you'll notice Cherries in Focus episode 7 is recorded. Got a busy week. Carabao Cup starts this week. We'll touch on that in a little bit. We'll also review Tottenham and we will look ahead to Brentford before the international break. I've got John, Aaron and Steve with me. John, new week brings new hope. Yeah?
New hope of the first win, I guess, with Swansea. I think we've spoken. We bring it up that we certainly need to get that confidence of a win at some point. Doesn't matter who it's against. I don't care if we're playing a League Two team, which we're not. But we just need that win. But yeah, 2 games to talk about, and we'll see what happens.
Aaron is back after a little break in Portugal, I think. How you doing, Aaron?
Greece, but close. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, I was obviously at the Spurs game on Saturday. I'm doing well. Good to be back, and well, looking forward to a first win, hopefully this week at some stage.
Both countries have won a Euros. I don't know if that means anything, but anyway, good to have you back, Aaron and Steve. We have got lots to talk about in this episode. You want to get on with it because you've got a trip to Swansea tomorrow because we're recording this on Monday. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, mate. It'd be even better if we could get, like John said, get that first win on the board, which is half the reason I'm going to Swansea tomorrow, because I might get through. Well, not 3 points, but might see a win.
We will talk about Swansea in a little bit. If you're new around here, do subscribe to the channel. We're well on our way to 2,000. Also hit the like button. That'll help the video grow between now and the end of the week and kick off at Brentford. And of course, on this video, we want to get your thoughts in the comments. Let's start with that Spurs review. Let's start with our match day notes from Ollie Windsor, Spurs 2, Bournemouth 0.
Saturday, Bournemouth hosted Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur at the Vitality as they attempted to get their first win of the season, however soon become a deflating and lacklustre afternoon for the home side. Despite the injury doubts, £45 million summer signing James Maddison netted his first goal for Tottenham, getting on the end of a through ball by teammate Pape Sarr, highlighting the inevitable gap in the defensive midfield position due to the long-lasting list of injuries the Cherries face. The Cherries very nearly ended the half on level terms after Philip Billing sent a curling left-footed strike narrowly wide off the far post, which had inevitably continued the frustrations into the break. Bournemouth went on to have a promisingly bright start to the second half as Ryan Christie tested the Tottenham goalkeeper, which had comfortably been saved before an excellent effort from Anton Semenyo, who nearly followed up his goal last weekend at Anfield, but his curling effort from the edge of the box flew narrowly wide off the top corner, rippling the outside of the net, bringing false hope to the home supporters. Iraola will share his frustrations as the manner of the visitors' second, with several of his defenders guilty of ball watching as Udogie worked his way to the byline to cross the ball to Kulusevski, who scuffed the ball past Neto to end the game 2-0. Andoni admits his substitutions did not help his side maintain his implemented high press and actually allowed Tottenham to gain control in the latter stages of the game.
After the second goal, we made some subs. They didn't help us to keep this high press. The game changed completely. They were controlling the ball much easier, and from there it was difficult.
Bournemouth has shown glimpses of promise under the new boss. However, a victory continues to elude the Cherries, whose start to the campaign has certainly not been ideal.
Thank you to Ollie Windsor. Do check him out on X. His X account is in the description below. That's your match day notes. But what we do now know, guys, is after 3 games in the Premier League, we drew, Steve, to an unbeaten West Ham side that are currently second. We lost to a Liverpool side that are even better with 10 men. And we lost to a very, very good Tottenham side that are managed by Ange Postecoglou. Not all doom and gloom just yet.
No, I think we've always said since we saw the fixture list that it's going to be a tough old start for us until we get into the realms of October, where we sort of, not saying the lesser teams, but the teams that were sort of in and around us a bit more last season, we start playing a few of those. The fear is that the morale's not on the floor by that point. Hopefully, we will pick up some points along the way. We picked up a point against West Ham, obviously. Liverpool seem to be you're awakening the beast if you get a man of theirs sent off. That seems to be the way it's going for them in the last 2 games. And Spurs are a completely different kettle of fish than they have been over the last few seasons. And Ange Postecoglou's got them playing in a very, very very good way. I mean, they've got Maddison absolutely ran the show on the weekend, and it basically was. If you take him out of that team, I think we have a bit more of a chance. But he was so difficult to pick up. He just literally glided through our midfield at times, like there wasn't even 3 players there. So yeah, there's a lot to work on still, but let's hope we can get something in the bag before October.
But John, £110 million Bournemouth has spent. Why have we not got more points on the board? Well, that's what Gary Lineker thinks.
That was an interesting 5 seconds from Match of the Day analysis, honest. And I mean, I've heard some pointless comments before, but wow, for Williams there to be like, I didn't even know they'd spent that much money, as that you are literally paid to be keeping an eye on every team in the Premier League. It's just the frustrations of a lower, of a lesser side. But yeah, the circumstances around that is obviously, I mean, he mentioned it himself. There's half of that, or close to it, is on Tyler Adams and Alex Scott, who are both injured, having come in, and obviously there's Romain Favre went on loan immediately, and Hama Traore was already at the club, basically. So, if we haven't quite had the impact of all that money that's been spent so far, and it is once those players are available, and it's once the team is fitting better into the new system, once it is adapted, once it gained a bit of confidence of a few decent results, that's when I expect things to start picking up for us, definitely.
Aaron, I did think that Tottenham side was pretty good and pretty organised. I was hoping that they haven't lost this season. I thought they might have thrown in one of their dodgy performances, but that was what you would have seen under previous managers. They're very organised. I did think we were very good the first 15 minutes, but similar to other games, we did sort of concede a soft goal, and we'll come to the goals that we conceded in a bit. And it becomes a little bit of an uphill battle for us, because we're only sort of competing for me for about 15 minutes in halves.
Yeah, before the game, I mean, I watched the Spurs game against Manchester United, and they do seem to be a different beast. They've got a settled back 4 now with Van der Ven, makes a big difference. They've got Sarr and Basuma, who are playing out their skins, with Maddison, as Steve already mentioned, literally ran the whole game. And there was hope that he was going to be injured, but as soon as he was fit, I did fear the worst. And as we know, as we've all said many times, it was always going to be a difficult start to the season for us. But with the injuries we've got, I mean, I know every team has injuries, but 4, I can count 4 for me, probably guaranteed starters, and maybe a couple more as well. So 4 to 5 or 6 first teamers out, including obviously the new signing. So putting all that together, Spurs really were only missing Bentancur as from their strongest lineup. So it was always going to be difficult. They're an exceptionally good team. I already changed my mind about Spurs and think they could finish above the likes of Manchester United and Chelsea. Obviously, it's early days, but yeah, it's always going to be a struggle for us, because we need to strengthen, and we have strengthened, but we can't get them on the pitch. And no doubt in my mind, if the likes of Tavernier, Dango were on the wings, and obviously Alex Scott and Tyler Adams in the team, I think we would have given them a much better game, and indeed Liverpool as well. But we weren't disgraced. We weren't, thrashed in either game. We were in the game. For me, up until Spurs' second goal, we were very much in it. I think that was our best spell of the game before they scored their second. Once the second went in, it was game over, and it showed. And we were disappointing. And I don't think the subs had any impact at all, disappointingly. And I think that's where we're at now. We're at the stage where we haven't got the strength and depth at the moment to come off, to come on and make a difference, or we're not in form. All the momentum went when Semenya went off the pitch, and I thought Christie was excellent, and even Justin Kluivert was beginning to get into the game. He wasn't exceptional, but he was making, he was trying to be direct and running at them, and something Jadon Anthony just didn't do when he came on. So yeah, it's a funny feeling at the moment. I think we've all kind of said it's kind of waiting for our players to come back, but as Steve said, we're waiting and waiting, and we don't want to be cut too far adrift before they all come back, because we all think we're going to be fine. I'm pretty sure we're going to be fine. I think we've got an exceptionally good team once they're all fit. I still think we need to add in one particular area, but yeah, it's a waiting game, and the league game certainly coming up don't get any easier.
Steve, I do think you might have an opinion on this, but Steve or John, come forward as we talk about the goals that we conceded, because I like to watch them back. I do like to analyse and just confirm what my eyes saw. And I thought the first goal was definition of ball watching. Rothwell was trying to get the attention of the referee, hurt his wrist or his finger, wasn't fully concentrating. Sabani is eyes on the ball, and Maddison walks past both Rothwell and Sabani. And then the second goal, I just don't know how Udogie goes as far as he does unchallenged. And then on the replay that I watch on the TV, guys, I'm then shocked to see Kelly's attempt at trying to defend. So poorly conceded goals. Am I shocked that we concede goals under Andoni Iraola? Not really. I expect us not to keep many clean sheets, but I expect us to score most weeks. But I was disappointed with the 2 goals we conceded, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pick up the first goal. I think it's poor from a lot of angles. A lot of people play their part in how poor that is. From the initial part, I think it's Basuma just literally sways his body, gets rid of Christie. He's gone. Billings he doesn't know where Sarr is. It's you've got, if you look on the other side of the pitch, you've got 3 of them. You've got Aarons, you've got Zabani, and I think Rothwell, and then you've got Semenyo. Semenyo can see Maddison in front of him as he's coming back. He does nothing, doesn't give anyone a shout.
No.
Aarons can see him, doesn't do anything about him because he's worried about the guy behind him. And then Rothwell, in the whole thing, hardly moves. If you watch it back, he moves about 5 yards, and it basically just leaves us very exposed. And Sarr comes off Billing, plays a little through ball. Nobody picks up Maddison, and it's in the net before people have blinked an eye. And it's just really, really poor all around pitch. And I think it's just, we haven't got enough defensively minded players in there. And this is, we talked about injuries and like not having Tyler Adams. I think you have him in there or a like-minded player. They stop Maddison. Somebody does something to stop Maddison, because it's just like he's a ghost and nobody sees him. And it's not acceptable, really, because you've got 3 or 4 Premier League players just doing nothing to stop that goal. John, do you want to pick up the second goal?
Yeah, and I think the fact that Rothwell was taken off for Cook at half time, I think, was a showing that Rothwell was not doing his job defensively well enough.
I don't think it's necessarily Rothwell's fault. He's doing a role which is not really his forte. And he gets on the ball and he likes to spray the ball around. He can move forward with it. Defensive wise, he'll chase people down when he can, but apart from that, he doesn't spot danger like a Lerma would, or hopefully like a Tyler Adams will. Just
before John comes in, then Rothwell did actually save the chance when Richarlison went round the keeper, and he was the one who got in and made that block and ran like 20 yards to make that block. I mean, John's going to talk about the second goal. I'd like to come on to Rothwell and Cook, because Iraola seems to really, he took Rothwell off of Cook, and yeah, I'm not sure I would have done that.
Well, I think just to go on that is that stats-wise afterwards, Cook ends up producing 5 goal tackles and interceptions in his half versus, obviously Rothwell pulls back to produce that clearance, which would produce the block, and then obviously Kirkes whacks it away. And that attack should never have happened, because Romero should have got a yellow card for his foul on Semenyo, which I just don't understand how the referee doesn't see him slicing him down. It's a textbook scissor tackle with a lead. The trailing leg just smashes into the back of him. It could have really damaged his ankle, so it's a good thing he got up from that. But that's the kind of run that I expect any midfielder to make, because it's sort of like everyone's rushing back. It's that one that I don't expect Cook to do any better than Rothwell on that first goal, because he's not got that defensive awareness either. As for the second goal, though, I mean, I'd need to watch it back again, but I just don't want to, because it's just such an embarrassing lack of effort defensively.
Kelly's the worst there. I don't know what he's doing.
I have to say, I completely disagree that Kelly's the worst of that. Kelly is actually the least to blame for that. Out of all of those that messed up, Semenyo doesn't do well enough to keep Udogie away. You've got Cook coming across, not doing enough. You've got Aarons completely loses him. Aarons is the worst at that one. You've got Kirkes completely falls asleep to deal with Kulusevski. You've got Zabani hasn't got into the place where he should be. Kelly is on his back heels. Yes, I will grant you that he is partially to blame. But for me, he's the least to blame of 7 players that should have dealt with that. And it is embarrassing how easy Kulusevski got into that position, scuffs the ball in. But Udogie walking through 5 players, no, that's just not good enough at all.
I mean, I am covering my eyes when it gets to Lloyd Kelly when I watch it back on highlights, but and instantly inside the stadium, I just want to know how Udogie's got that far, to be honest with you. So it's not a great goal to concede. Going back to that centre midfield, Steve or Aaron, again, it has highlighted, I like Rothwell. I think he brings attributes to this team, but most of his career he's played higher up. You know, he played for Blackburn in a position where he got 10 assists, 4 goals, and he's sort of fell into that CDM last season, I suppose, a little bit. It did highlight how desperate we are for Tyler Adams. What concerns me, though, is that if we're heavily reliant on Tyler Adams, one injury, are we back to square one?
Yeah, well, there is that. And that's what I think a few of us said outside the ground. You know, we're all waiting for this guy to come back. You know, he could get any injury, whether it's a recurrence of his hamstring or anything else, and we're back to square one again, you know, and that's why, you know, obviously with Lerma going and Pearson going, the other kind of CDM, maybe he's not up to it, but that you know, those 2 players in the same similar kind of position. I think what my point about Cook and Rothwell is that I think John's right, and Iriola's obviously knows far better than me that maybe in that kind of 6 position, neither are particularly comfortable, but Cook's more natural there. But I just guess for me, Rothwell just brings so much more than Lewis Cook to every other aspect of the game. But I guess that wasn't his job on Saturday, so maybe Cook did that job better. Although, you know, again, I keep repeating myself like Lewis Cook. I'm just not sure what he is, where he is, what he should, what, you know. And I so want him to be that. And I've been saying that for quite a long time now. It speaks volumes. Rothwell for me is dynamic. He drives with the ball. He's always positive. He's always looking forward, and you know he runs into spaces. And Lewis Cook doesn't do that. But I guess until Tyler Adams is fit, then maybe he is more. Cook is definitely more disciplined than Rothwell in that position, which is why he's going to have to play there. But yeah, you're right. We're severely lacking, and that's why I think, you know, another. I don't know if the funds are there. I don't know how it works with financial fair play, but for me, we'll come on to the other area. I still think we need a striker desperately, and I think we need another centre midfielder desperately.
Steve, I also want to ask you about Senesi, someone we spoke about in pre-season. Was it a surprise to see him on the bench and for Kelly to start? And you've also spoken about him potentially doing a job if we need to in that CDM. So if Rothwell was struggling with an injury or just struggling full stop in that first half because there was so much space. I mean, I thought at some point James Maddison was just going to buy part of Dean Court. He had so much land in the middle of the park. But to see Senesi on the bench, was that a surprise?
Yeah, huge surprise for me. I mean, Iriola said that it was purely down to Kelly's pace that he gave him the nod over Senesi. Now, I don't know really why that's a big concern. I wouldn't say Richardson's not slouch, but I wouldn't say he's massively rapid. And if you're a decent enough centre back, which Sabani and Senesi both are, you can give a guy a yard and you can read the game. You can drop off and give yourself a chance if you know you are going to lose out in a foot race. So I think Senesi and Sabani are that good that they will do that sort of thing. Lloyd Kelly's a difficult one. He's obviously not played much football, and it showed big time again. And I feel a bit bad for him because I don't know really where to go. I don't know what to say. I like the guy, but I don't know. There's too many poor performances that I've noticed, and I don't want the crowd to get on his back again because that was awful. We need to support him if he's struggling. I still think he's a useful squad member, but he's certainly not my starter at centre back. And moving into that option, if you needed to, of putting Senesi in there. I was just thinking this now, and I don't know what all you guys think, but when he's fit again, is it possible role that Adam Smith could play?
What, CDM?
Yeah.
Do you know what came to my mind at the weekend?
Or Mepham, for that matter.
not sure, but do you know what came to my mind at the
Smith more
weekend
than
was
Mepham,
that
probably.
Maddison didn't have a great game for Leicester last season at Dean Court, and that's because Adam Smith man-marked him, and we almost solved that problem and played him out the game, where on Saturday, as I said, he had the pitch to roam around, and we know he's quality on his day. He doesn't assist for Philip Billing every season, clearly, because he didn't do it last weekend. But I was surprised how much space was in there, knowing the quality that they had. And I don't know if we tried to nullify Son instead. I don't think we were particularly worried about Richarlison because Zalewski is decent on his day and got the goal. But it was a massive problem in there, guys. We had a massive problem in centre midfield.
It's a good call about Adam Smith. You know, I'm not again. It's very.
I just think because of his age, and
he's played midfield before, and not obviously regularly, but
he doesn't have to do up and down. He doesn't.
Correct.
He just sits in front of the back four.
Yeah. He's experienced enough.
He's got defensively minded attributes.
Yeah, and I think unlike a Mepham type, I think
he likes the dark arts like Jervis.
Yeah,
just a bit.
No, I think he's clearly not going to be a first choice there, but I think that's somewhere he can definitely cover because he's defensively minded and he's very comfortable on the ball.
I do wonder if that's going to be an opinion that probably splits the fan base.
I'm only thinking like this because of FFP, because like we've said, we've spent a lot of money, and I don't know how that affects what we can and can't buy before the window closes. But if it's not on our list of things to get because we've got Tyler Adams, is there another option there with someone like Smith?
I mean, he is going to be a squad player. That's a fact for me. So if he's a squad player that can play right back, left back, maybe at CDM. I don't.
He's very versatile. He's played everywhere, hasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you mind if I just come in? Steve, can I just ask what? Because for me, watching Kelly in that game, there was nothing about Kelly's performance there that made me look at him and say he is doing anything outside of what I expect from him, and that's because really, I don't think he had a particularly bad game, and I certainly I think that the second goal isn't much. There's 5 other players I blame more than him for the second goal, whilst he takes some blame. I don't think he's got any blame for the first goal. I think there's 6 players again that make mistakes before he does.
Yeah,
I think that the issues that I've got with Kelly are twofold. Is that one, he does this thing when he's dealing with players on the counter that he gives far too much room. That he doesn't close down defenders on counters. He's really bad at it, and you just need to go back and look at Kevin De Bruyne's goal in the 4-0 loss away at City last season for a perfect example of that. But the other thing is that his passing just isn't as good. It's nowhere near as good as almost any other defender we've got. He tries a lot of long balls. He messes them up a lot of the time. But really, I don't think he was particularly bad. The guy that was competing with long balls was Zabani, who I think has been very impressive at dealing with any long balls over the top to contend with. But I agree with you that Kelly just isn't at the level of a couple of other centre-backs. But I don't think he was particularly out of sorts. He didn't look like he was not match fit in that game for me.
No, I think it's a case of confidence personally with him. I think he knows when he's messed up, and I think it gets to his head a little bit. I mean, it didn't help his it was very early on that he tried to spray a ball across the pitch, and it went wildly out.
Yeah,
by the dugouts, I think it was. And immediately there was a big groan, and you just thought, he probably is hearing that in the crowd, and he probably thinks, just come back in. I've gaffed up already, albeit it didn't really hurt us. It wasn't a problem.
And he tried a long ball before that was successful. He played one before that worked. Yeah,
and I think that's where people tend to notice when he does something a little bit wrong because he's got a bit of a history of it. I noticed a few things in that game. I think he's awful in the air. Sorry, but I just think he's not very good in the air. Doesn't really ever attack the ball. You're right in that second goal. He is to blame in some regard, but there's other people that need to stand up and be counted a lot longer before he gets involved, really. On the whole, I don't know what it is, really. I just think it's a confidence thing with him, because we've all seen him put in very good performances. And when he came to us first of all, we thought, I remember thinking this guy's just an automatic replacement for Ake. I really did think that. And I thought he was a shoot, and so he's got it within him. It's just I just think it's confidence. I really do.
Injuries
I think we can all agree his best position is the left of the three centre backs. I think that his best performances have come in that position. But Iraola obviously doesn't want to play that. The issue I've got, I'll say it's an issue. If you don't want Kelly in the team, it's an issue. Is that his reasoning for playing Kelly over Senesi was, he said, because of his physicality and his speed. Well, his speed I definitely get. Physicality I'm not sure about. But if that's the case, then he's going to be playing every week because speed's important in the Premier League. You know, if that is the case, then he will be playing every week because speed is important in the Premier League. You're going to come up against most forwards in the Premier League are very quick. So how's that not going to be a reason every week for him to be ahead of Senesi? That's what I'm not quite sure about. I don't get the physicality side of it either. So yeah, that's I'm not saying that's a worry, but that's going to be the case every week, I would think. I don't know.
And I think it's sorry, go on. Well, I was just going to say some of his decision making, like there was a prime example of this again on Saturday where he goes flying into a challenge with Richarlison and gets himself booked, and that on another day, if he catches him quite bad, and hurts him, that's a red card. He was out of control. He went flying in, completely missed it, and I find that if he had that confidence within himself, he wouldn't be wouldn't be making these small little bad decisions or errors. I just think he needs I don't know, a psychologist or somebody to just G him up, get him playing, get all these demons out of his head.
And just quickly, I think that was the perfect example, just to cap on this. That tackle you're talking about is the one proper example in the entire match where you go, that's where he should have used his pace to get in front of Richarlison. Because every single other instance where someone got in behind, I think Senesi would have dealt with it in the exact same way. That was the one time you think, don't dive in there because you've got the pace to beat him. And he dives in. And it's just like, that's just the frustration.
It's also not, it's just to close that, it's also not useful to chop and change his centre-backs every single game.
No.
So, is he going to play Senesi next week? So that also doesn't work. So he needs to settle on that.
The crowd's delicate with Lloyd Kelly. Lloyd Kelly is delicate if he makes a mistake. And something that's also delicate with Lloyd Kelly is his contract, 12 months. So however he's feeling, it's in the balance with the club and Lloyd Kelly where we go from here. What we did ask at full time was for your 3-word match report following that 2-0 loss, Aaron. There was some stuff in there about needing to shoot. We lost the midfield, didn't create enough. This keeps coming up. We spoke about it in pre-season. We need goals. Will we do something else in the transfer window? Well, we might have a transfer show live on Thursday to talk more about that. We did have our chances, though, Aaron. They were few and far between. Christie had a shot, saved comfortably by the goalkeeper. Philip Billing should be hitting the target 100% just inside the box. And Semenyo is probably disappointed that he hasn't hit the target as well. So not lots of chances. I know in that first 50 minutes of the second half as well, we drilled the ball across and we weren't reactive to that opportunity. Philip Billing, for me, just signed a new contract last season, hits the target, probably scores.
It's the one player you want that to fall to in that exact position, isn't it? So, he's normally quite reliable in that position. So it is what it is. Might well have changed the game. You don't know. Again, it's very difficult having played against Liverpool and Tottenham to really judge Dom again. I mean, this whole conversation about Dom because he was feeding off scraps at Liverpool. Again, he was feeding off scraps. I think we've spoken about the fact that Iraola's teams, or certainly at Vallecano, didn't necessarily rely so much on the striker getting all the goals, and the wingers were fundamental to that. And I still think that's going to be very much the case when the likes of Tavernier and Dango are back and what have you, and Phil Billing getting in on the act. But I still think we need another striker, not necessarily to replace Dom, to give him some competition. I think Kiefer Moore should, legend that he is, should either go on loan or go to a championship and free up his space in the squad and get another striker in. And if that striker then impresses enough to start, then so be it. Dom isn't, he doesn't have a divine right to be in the team. I think a lot of people, myself included, get hung up on the amount of work Dom does, the amount of effort he puts in, the immense everything, and I say the same thing. He's immense for the team. But that's not to say someone else can't come in and do a better job. I think, and I'm just, we've all got tunnel vision there because, everyone's replaceable. I think Semenyo has been a revelation. Could he do a job? When all the wingers are fit and available, and he's not going to be on the wing, could he do a job up front? I mean, he strikes the ball. He doesn't hang about. He's not dithering on the edge of the area. He's winning a lot of his headers. He's physical. He's running at players and getting past them. Something that Dom hasn't been doing. So it's controversial because some people would call me a heretic, but I just think I just worry that we're not going to. We've strengthened the whole rest of the team. And if we're not going to strengthen the forward areas, we might struggle in this season more than people think.
The problem is, John, Dom Solanke again is not shooting for whatever reason. It's a wet, rainy day inside Dean Court. He's central of the goal, 18 yards out, and he's passing it behind Semenyo when there's an opportunity to shoot. And we know from the West Ham game, he might scuff it. It might land at someone else's feet. It might get deflected. Dom's not shooting again. And I can recall potentially you saying we haven't got to worry so much about a striker because Andoni's going to ask more from the wingers to get goals. And that's not happening at the moment. We know we've got big time players out. It's a real thing that everyone knows has been bugging me for a while about Dom Solanke. He's got a part to play in this squad. Love his teamwork. Just want more goals, John.
Yeah, but I would say that you need to feed him to give him the chances to score. I mean, the one that you're talking about, I'm fairly certain there's someone within half a yard of him, and that maybe is why that he's not so. Which is something that maybe might change because I do think, and it's something that Vallecano did, is that they took a lot of shots. They just kept shooting. It didn't really matter too much from where because they'll just keep shooting and eventually one of them will go in. So I do feel as though maybe that's something that Iraola will try and coach into Solanke. But, so far, if you look at the West Ham game, not a huge number of chances created. Liverpool, barely any chances created against Spurs. 2 shots from outside the box, 1 shot from just inside the box, and then the ball that Solanke squared across that Semenyo should have been on the end of that didn't get converted. That's it. Those were the 4 chances the entire match, really. So I can't think of many opportunities where Solanke has not shot when I would want him to. I mean, even the goal against Liverpool was him taking a shot from a situation that really he's never going to score from. It bounces back to Semenyo, who strikes it in the bottom corner. So I think that we need other options up front. And I think that you're absolutely right that Semenyo could be the one to change and come in as the striker that sort of pushes the opposition line back, because Solanke likes to come deeper. He likes to be the board to bounce the ball off. He's got an all-round game, whereas sometimes you just want your Callum Wilson replacement, the guy that's just going to hang on the defender and just go and just be like, just feed me the ball and I will run onto the end of onto that ball. But to be fair, at the moment, you've got to look at, even if we had a player like that, have we played in the games where we're going to get the most out of that as well? When you consider like West Ham have only dropped points to us so far. We've played a Liverpool side that look like they're going to be quite impressive this season and a Spurs side that look like they're going to be even better than that. So I think that it's just a little bit difficult to really make too many conclusions quite this second about exactly how some of the players are going to perform. And I do think that Steve mentioned it earlier. It is sort of the start of October. I'd sort of make it like that point. We play Arsenal and then we play Everton, Wolves and Burnley in quick succession. It's like, if we are not on it by that point, we can start asking questions of Iraola and some of the players. But I just feel like up to that point, it should all be one big warm-up to really get there. And I understand that you obviously don't want to go no wins until the beginning of October, but I do think it's difficult to really push too much onto a team of our level that's playing a completely new style. But that's just me in that regard.
I don't know if it was on your watch along, John. I can't remember where I saw it. There was somewhere it had the average positions. I can't remember where it was. I don't know. It was another.
It
podcast.
Was average positions half time.
Yeah, and it had Dom literally in our own half, and Semenyo was by far the furthest forward. So if that's what he's being asked to do, then you're right. It's not fair on him. Do we want a striker to be right on the shoulder? So it's very difficult.
I think there's more. It's easy to get at Dom because if we're not scoring goals, then he's our striker. Then it's easy to sort of have a pop at him and say we need another striker, which I'm not disagreeing with. I think we do need competition for places, and definitely that is one area we do need, because if if we do lose him to an injury, then we've got to look at who we bring in anyway. I think Aaron makes a good point. I like the Semenyo option. I do liken Semenyo to, he's a bit of an Antonio for me. He's bullish, he's strong, he's direct, he's not frightened to have a pop. Yeah, exactly. I find him a very similar player to Antonio. So I think that, he could play up top and has done, I believe, for Bristol, didn't he, John? I believe, for a period. But I mean, John made a point a minute ago is that we're not feeding Dom that much. And I kind of want to pick up on that, because I think some of our, we've got a lot of square pegs in round holes at the minute, and we're trying a new system. It's not quite clicked, and we haven't got the personnel doing what they should be doing. We're just plugging holes at the minute, and everyone's expecting great things because we've got this well sought after manager who's supposed to be, the next best thing. However, if he hasn't got a lot of tools at his disposal, not the ones he needs, it's going to be tricky. It's going to be a tricky period. I'd be more concerned of our defensive problems at the minute, and because we have got those players and we're still leaking goals, especially the midfield and some of the space we're allowing in that midfield. Against Liverpool, against Spurs, it was quite bad at times.
Good conversations. We will wrap up Spurs 2, Bournemouth 0 there then. We do want to make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, do get your thoughts in the comments. Also a good time to mention you wonderful people who support the channel, including Sean Woodland, who's recently become a member. There's been James Burnett, that's become a member recently, Cherry Pirate, Dan Troman, and all the rest of you. Thank you so much. You can become a member or donate to the channel at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. Before Brentford on Saturday in the Premier League, though, we're going to turn our attentions to the second round of the Carabao Cup against Swansea. So Tuesday night at the Liberty, Swansea versus Bournemouth in the second round, guys. Just a 5-minute conversation about this, and we'll turn attentions to Brentford. My thoughts are that I'm a bit confused, actually. In one breath, keep a strong side, build confidence, hopefully get the win, go to Brentford. But then again, I look at the side and think you could probably make 5, 6, 7 changes. You could change the goalkeeper. Mepham could probably come in. Lewis Cook could start. David Brooks can come in. Kiefer Moore likes a goal at the Liberty. I don't really know now what Andoni's going to do.
Well,
you change the whole lot. Yeah,
you could do. It's a tough one in that regard, and it's sort of like it's something that we sort of mentioned before. I think it was before we started this, and how and certainly others brought it up. Like, we don't really got frustrated with Eddie making all those changes. We'd like someone to just come in and just go, "Yep, strongest team, let's go at the cup," and then we're like, actually, maybe give some time to players. Personally, I'd like to see Traore start, but it's weird that Andoni just doesn't seem to rate him at all. There was a comment that he'd said he was annoyed that he took Christie off after it. I was just like, that sounds like a jab at Traore a bit, because he was the replacement. So that's a bit of a weird one. But I think that, I just want us to go for the win. That's what I want, because it doesn't matter who it's against. You just want that confidence to just come back in, because if we don't get past this round, and then we don't get a couple of results in the next few games, if that win doesn't come and it starts dragging, I hate to think what it does to the mentality of the squad on training as well.
This Swansea side as well, guys, hasn't won
well
in the Championship. No. Their only win this season, Steve, is against Northampton Town in the first round. Yeah. And when that confidence builds, when that confidence builds, and I think, hey, here we go, we'll get our first win. It's not in the Premier League, but get that first win, like John says, settle everyone down, build a little bit of confidence. But then I forget that they're not managed by Russell Martin anymore.
No, I don't actually know who they are managed by anymore. But
Duff is
irrelevant. But we're talking about what sort of side we should put out there. I think we could put a very strong side out even with giving some of the fringe players a game. So you think that Neto Radu is an obvious swap, just to give Radu a game. Mepham to come in hasn't had a start. Then we've got the likes of Lewis just coming back from injury, could do with some game time. Traore, you would think would get a game, and even if you might want to say, put one of the youngsters on sort of, we did it last season when we played Norwich. We played quite a few of the youngsters. No, it's a different manager, obviously, but you got the likes of Greenwood, Kilkenny could come in, play. It's still a very strong side, even if you sort of bolster it up with a few first team starters. Brooks hasn't played every game. He could play. You still got big names more up front. I mean, Moore likes a goal in Wales, doesn't he? So you'd like to think whatever we put out, we've got a good chance of getting through this.
Maybe it's a game to try some menu up front with Moore. Maybe,
maybe, yeah.
Why not? There's certain players I would protect. I would protect Kirkes because he's the only left back we got at the club. So give Greenwood a game. Greenwood's fine. Even maybe give Hill a go, because if Smith's not back soon, then you don't want to risk Aaron. Yeah. So Hill and Greenwood, Mepham for me, and I guess Senesi at the moment because he's not in the first team. And then Lewis, as I said, I think Brooks definitely. It would be good to get Anthony. Play Anthony.
Would you not play Kelly there?
Possibly, but I mean, I on the basis I want to see Senesi and Zabani against Brentford. But I would play Anthony because we desperately need to get him into some sort of form because he's really not at it, and I think it'll be good to play him. But I also see the argument of I think I did read somewhere that Iraola wants to play a much very strong. His attitude towards cups is play the strongest team, which I'm certainly not against. But not sure tomorrow. That's all.
It is that fine balance, John, isn't it, between trying to get that confidence builder for the next game, especially the one in the Premier League, because I was desperate to try and get that win before the international break to settle everyone down and know that we can win fixtures under Andoni Iraola. But it's also not risking, like the others have said, more injuries, because we know we've already got a busy medical room as it is.
Yeah, it's just, as mentioned by the other guys, it is just, I think protecting certain players will be the most sensible thing, but it should still be a game and that we go out to win, even with if it isn't a full strength side. And Iraola has history of doing well in cup competitions. With Vallecano, we got them to the Copa del Rey semi-final 2 years in a row, one of which was when they were in the second tier. So, I expect him to go strong, just with hopefully, not being too silly with the likes of, in particular, Kirk and Aarons, I would say.
Steve, just to summarise Swansea then, because you're going tomorrow, what are you hoping to see as a fan that's going to be inside the stadium? Because you've said it's been a little bit hit and miss at the moment. We've seen 15 minutes here, 10 minutes here against West Ham, 15 minutes in the second half against Tottenham when we're chasing down a 1-0, 1-0 down. What are you looking to see tomorrow?
A win. So it's that simple. Just want to see a win. It'd be nice to see some of the players we haven't seen a lot of really try and make a case for themselves, really. Sort of really try and sort of say, well, I'm here and, I can perform, even though it is only in the Carabao Cup, whatever, but I'm still here ready to perform. And like you say, maybe if we saw Semenyo, sorry, name escaped me for a second there, up front as an option, see if that works and how well that works. Because, he's obviously played up front in that division before against this sort of level of opposition. So it's an obvious one. But it's basically just see a win. I just want to see us have something to celebrate at the end of the day. And I mean, Swansea's quite a happy hunting ground in previous seasons. I'm racking my brains to think when the last time we actually lost to Swansea. I know I'm struggling.
But I think the last time we won there was in 2016. Someone might need to confirm that in the comments. But I think we won in 2016. We obviously got the 3-3
just looking through it here. Yeah, you're probably right there. It's been a couple of draws. And it was the Jack Wilshere, Stanislas Fraser goal. I think it was New Year's Eve. 2016.
Nice. See, that's a way to finish a year. So Bournemouth take on Swansea in the second round of the Carabao Cup. If you go into the game, have a safe journey, try and enjoy it. And like Steve says, just getting that win will just calm everyone down and it'll put some smiles on some faces. And we can go into Brentford for the fourth Premier League game of the season at the G-Tech Community Stadium, which, guys, we're going to talk about now. So you know what we need right now, guys? We need to play a team in the Premier League that hasn't lost yet. It's Brentford 9th taking on AFC Bournemouth in 16th. It was a 1-1 draw last time out for them with no Ivan Toney, who's causing a little bit of a stir with his latest podcast contribution, talking about his ban and his love for Arsenal, the club he supported. But Brentford aren't worried because I spoke to a podcast channel for Brentford in pre-season, guys, and they were talking about Kevin Sade, and he scored the goal against Crystal Palace at the weekend, and he seems to be very, very good. We know from last season that Brentford are a tough side. They've got a good manager in Thomas Frank. You might have your own opinion on him as a person, but he's a good manager. They've adapted to the Premier League. They look like they're going to do it again this season. They're very strong. They're very organised. Somehow, we've got to go there, score, first of all, because we didn't do that last season, but cause them some trouble. And then hopefully we can go into the international break and get some players back fit. But focusing on Brentford, they're going to be a tough side.
Yeah, absolutely. I've forgotten it was a 0-0 draw. Was it 0-0 last season?
2-0 to them.
I was 2-0 to them.
It's a penalty.
Was it a draw at home?
Penalty, but
Horrendous penalty.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Aaron won't remember because he got kicked out.
I was going to say, yeah, my aim this season is to stay in the ground for 90 minutes. That's all I want to do.
Oh, dear. Yeah. So I think it was a draw at home, wasn't it, that we got against Brentford last season?
0-0.
Yeah. That was it. That was the 0-0.
That was the two penalties,
yeah, the interesting thing for me, again, just sort of tactically, is that the issue that we had in the press against Spurs was basically every time we looked like we were about to hem them in, apart from sort of like the first 15 minutes of the second half when we started making it work a bit, every time we looked like we were on top of them and our attackers were closing everything down, there'd just always be one player in the middle of the pitch that would just be completely free, and one dinked pass or one simple ball, it just completely broke our press. Whereas against Brentford, they aren't really as bothered about keeping the ball at the back. They want to play the ball a little bit longer. They don't need to mess around with it too much when they're worrying about the ball at the back. And in players like Visser, Mbeumo, and obviously Sade, they've got, pretty darn good physicality up front, particularly pace as well. And while Zabani has been dealing really well with any ball that needs to be contested in the air, I worry a little bit about balls that going over the top, because I think Zabani, and whether it's Senesi or Kirk and Aaron's maybe being a bit slow, balls over the top might be a bit vulnerable. So it's how do we? Well, I mean that's basically any game, but how does our press? How can we make our press work? Because at the moment we've only really managed to make about 15 minutes in all three games where our press has really worked in each match. So it's just building on that and trying to start winning the ball up the pitch in their third and then turn it into chances, because we occasionally win the ball nicely, but we're just not making any chances from it at the moment. And it's going to be that particular part of the plan that needs to keep improving before we start playing against the teams that we really expect to get results from. But having said that, I wouldn't be surprised if we nicked a draw here. It's as much as I have been pessimistic on previous predictions.
Look, it's not a game I would choose to play next, but it's also not the worst game. We could definitely go there and get something. Look, they are a decent team. They're not going to be in any trouble this season, even without Toney. But they drew at home with Crystal Palace. I don't think Palace are particularly great this season. I don't think they're going to pull up massive cheese. Also, they drew at home with Spurs, but again, that was Spurs' first game under a new manager, and they looked susceptible. And Spurs actually in that game could have scored 3 or 4 goals. They actually missed a host of chances. So they were maybe more clinical against us. Can't remember what their other game was. They beat someone. I can't remember who it was. Brentford's the third game. But if we're on it again, it looks like we're not going to have any players back. So I keep saying that. But with what we've got, if the likes of Phil Bill are on it, as I said, the rest of them, if we can actually play our stuff and defend well and take our chances, it's going to be a very different sort of game. They haven't got a James Maddison type. They haven't got I can't pronounce his name at Liverpool, Brushalelli, whatever his name is. Yeah,
Szoboszlai.
they haven't got a player who's going to necessarily completely dominate the game in midfield to the same extent as those players did. And as Jon said, they're not going to kind of play through our press in the same way. So I'm not confident, but I think we've got a chance of getting something and even winning the game. Why not? We have got ability, and maybe this is the game to show it.
Steve, I'm just going to bring up their lineup against Crystal Palace, and automatically I look at the goalkeeper and think he must be weaker than Raya, who's gone to Arsenal. I think he made a good save last week against Crystal Palace, though. But I look at that and think we need to test him, see what he's all about. But when you look at that Brentford side, they have got strength in there. I've always rated Norgard. I think he's caused us problems. Actually, I think Jensen caused us problems last year. Sharda's obviously this up-and-coming talent that solved maybe the Toney problem. And Bomo's always had that bit about him. If he gets in behind, he can cause damage. And then Jon's talking about that press that I know you're not too sure about at the moment, whether it's clicking and working and how committed the press is as a team. If they get out and get Rico Henry down that left-hand side, he's a talent as well, because they're speaking about Rico Henry breaking into the national team as well.
Yeah, for me, one of the most underrated fullbacks in the game. Actually, he's very good. And going back to the new keeper, I actually think he's a very decent keeper. I think he came from Jon probably knows, but is it Frankfurt or one of those teams?
It was in the Bundesliga. I'd need to look up again, but
yeah, I saw the highlights of this, and I know he's highly rated, but he made one hell of a double save at one point in that game against Palace. He's a decent enough keeper to replace Raya, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. What I'm more interested in, and like you say, is our press. I don't think it's coherently working at the moment. It seems like there's some on the page with it and some not quite up to speed with it. It's a work in progress, as we keep saying. I mean, these games, whilst we're in this situation of not having the full complement of players to pick from, I think these players are these games are just another game to sort of get that click in a bit more, get that. I know we sort of said, well, you might not have that time, but unfortunately, I think that's all we can do at the moment is to keep plugging away with this system and the players we have in the best way we can. We certainly need to tighten up in midfield a bit. It's obvious. And the thing that worries me about this game, I know Aaron said that, we could go there and get something. Yes, we can. The thing that worries me about Brentford is that they are a very settled side with a settled manager. The only difference is the keeper and Toney, but Toney seems to have not really made much of a difference. I think it's going to be a struggle on Saturday. I really do. I see Brentford as a real threat at home.
How much of a problem is it, Jon, if we don't get anything? I mean, I think, look, I saw a graphic today with teams that haven't even got any points yet, and I think 3 are from the Premier League. We've got a point on the board. We all probably know the season's going to start after the international break, although we still got some pretty hard games in September, hopefully with some more players fit. But is it going to make anyone anxious a bit if we go into that international break with not a Premier League win yet?
Going into the international break.
I'm not editing that, by the way.
No, that's fine. I'm not saying it again. I don't think it's that bad, because I mean it is only Brentford before the international break, isn't it? So yeah, I don't think that would be too big of an issue. That's only 4 games in, and when you consider that, I think I mentioned it already, as odd as it is to find West Ham on 7 points in the top 4, we have played 3 of the current top 4 and got a point, which if you said that under normal circumstances, if you're halfway through the season or whatever, you'd go, yeah, okay, fair enough. And heck, we had it last year. Admittedly, we beat Villa, but we then played Liverpool, Man City, Liverpool, and Arsenal, and we got 0 points just as we expected. So it is going to be, if we get to the point at which we're hit October and we're on no wins, even though we've had a lot of difficult games, I do think there will be grumblings. I think there will be some level of dissatisfaction that the win hasn't come, and you've got to expect that it will affect something about the team as well, and confidence of certain players, because it
Yeah.
doesn't matter who you are. If you go 6, 7, 8 games without a win, you've got to start going, is this working? So yeah, I don't worry too much about not getting a win against Brentford, although I do think it's probably the best chance we've got in our next 4 or 5 games of getting a win, which is saying a lot about our fixture difficulty. But it's I'm not too worried right now. And I think even if we don't get a win up until after the Arsenal game, when we start playing some more winnable fixtures, I won't be worried because it's what I expected. But I think a large chunk of the fan base will start going, yeah, I know they were hard games, but we kind of expected a bit more than that from this new progressive up-and-coming la-di-da from Spain manager, because that's just what a lot of fans will think, because they want to go to watch matches to win.
I think what helps with the fan base at the moment is that a large percentage of them realise what's happening at the minute. We're in a transition with a new manager, new system being implemented. If we were seeing performances on the pitch on Saturday that were really bad, dreadful, we weren't doing anything, then I think there would, those murmurings of unrest or people getting peed off, that would come to the forefront a lot quicker. What we are seeing is we are creating chances. We caused Liverpool problems. We got a point against West Ham. We caused Spurs problems at times. These are good sides, and we're still, we can see what's trying to develop there. And I think that's what's I think most of our fan base will allow that to develop before they start pitching and going, oh, Iriola out or any of that nonsense. It's got to be given time. You never know in any of these games. You might pick, early on in the season. I always say this to people: I don't bet on games at the beginning of the season because I never really know how that team is adapted from the previous season. What's going on at their club? You can get a lot. No one saw Chelsea, West Ham beating Chelsea, for example. The beginning of the season always throws up a few surprises. So we can live on hope.
I mean, my worry is again psychologically because. Look, at the moment, Luton, Sheffield United, Brighton, Burnley and Everton have all got 0 points. Sheffield United play Everton next week. Everton then play Luton at home. So, and we got 4, John's already spoken about, the next 4 or 5 games are tough. So we could be in the relegation zone on 1 point, and even the likes of Luton, Everton, Sheffield United have all got 3 points because they've had easier games, and I know everyone plays everyone. So, and then, not that it should matter a jot to us, but the media frenzy, the likes of Lineker and Co, who've clearly got an agenda against us, will be like, oh, look at Bournemouth sucking their manager, like tough cheat, like serves them right, and it's just going to annoy the hell out of me. I know it should make no difference whatsoever, but it'll be, look at Bournemouth, they spent the money, they got 1 point from 8 games, because no one outside the club will study it. I couldn't tell you who Nottingham Forest's first 8 games are, so no one outside the club will know who our first 8 games are, and they'll just be like, oh, look at Bournemouth, but as John said, I still internally will be like, okay, I'm not worried. Eddie Howe lost his first 4 games in the second or third season in the Premier League, and we were fine. And we know the players that are coming in. We know the fixtures we've got coming, but it does add a huge pressure to those fixtures, those 3 fixtures in October. If we don't end up getting 9 points from them, I mean, Everton away, but Everton might have improved by then. They've got a new striker coming in, and who knows? And then suddenly, if we lose at Goodison Park, which we've got a habit of doing, then it's like, oh God, but. No one will be anywhere near saying this has failed and we made a mistake, but it's gonna, the longer it goes on, it's a bit like, okay, when are we gonna get kicking then?
Especially if Gary O'Neill's got a couple of wins by that point as well.
Well, that also doesn't help. I mean, again, I fair play to them. As long as it's not at our expense, I've got no problem with them doing well. But half me wanted Everton to draw with Wolves on Saturday because it just adds to the narrative. You're right. Oh, and Neil's got his first win, against a dire Everton, so be it. But then they win the next game, and it's like, oh, he's on 6 points. He's doing what he's and we're stuck on 1.
That was a classic. That was a classic 1-0, by the way. Why can't we play Everton on Saturday? Well, we got to wait to October.
But John's right though. John's right in saying that we need to judge this November, December time.
Yes,
and then and hopefully we've got enough sensible people around the club that aren't going to get on everyone's back. And when we do finally get these players back, and I don't know what the return dates of the like of Alex Scott are, and and Tyler Adams, but they're going to boost the team. They're going to give, it's going to give boosts all around the place when we get players back.
Scott's the one who's the longest one. He's the longest one. The others should be very soon.
We just want, we talk about. I just don't want us to get into a position where we're completely on the floor morale wise. We're getting pasted, and I don't think we will be, because I don't think we are getting pasted. I think we're very much in these games. It's just, could coin the phrase, it's fine margins in a lot of it. If we'd have taken a couple of chances, if we'd had a couple of decisions, I think we're competing well. It's only going to go one way for me. I see it improving every week, which is good.
That is a lovely comment to almost finish this episode, but we'll quickly tell you the fixtures for the Premier League this weekend. Kicking off on Friday, Luton taking on West Ham, Sheffield United against Everton, Manchester City against Fulham, Chelsea against Nottingham Forest, Burnley take on Tottenham, Brentford against Bournemouth, Brighton, Newcastle, late kickoff on the Saturday, Crystal Palace against Wolves on Sunday, Liverpool against Aston Villa, and then finish off with Arsenal against Manchester United. Do get your comments below on this episode. Do hit the like button, do subscribe, and we will probably have a transfer show special, live and interactive, talk about our transfer window on Thursday. We'll confirm the time, so hit the notification bell and follow us on the socials. But it's been an interesting conversation, guys. There has been some tough moments that we've had to talk about that are not so great, but we can still see the positives. Like Steve said, it's not doom and gloom yet. John, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Yep, thank you very much for having me on. I'll hopefully see you all on Thursday.
Aaron, all your annual leave is used up now, so thanks to have you back. And enjoy your day on Saturday at Brentford. Yeah,
hopefully I'll stay in the ground, as I said. And
no doubt
I'll update you. And I'll update you all on any transfer news in the next few days.
Steve, thank you very much. Have a safe journey to Swansea and Brentford as well.
Yeah, I'll be at both. I don't think I'm missing a game till Brighton. I just can't be arsed with Brighton this season. I've just done it so many times over the years. Right. But no, I'm going to have a good, hopefully, fingers crossed, have a great time tomorrow night and have something to chant and sing about.
Don't worry, I'll pick Brighton up for you. I've already got the ticket, so I'll pick that one up for you. You have a day off. And John is also doing a watch along for Brentford on Saturday, 2:30 start likely, John. So we'll get all that sorted and arranged.
I did pop in and say hello, John, like I promised.
You did. Yes, I caught your question. Yep, you did pop in. But yes, thank you for those of you that joined on the most recent one. Thanks for that. And I'm hoping to, given it's an away game, I'm hoping that there'll be a few more people dropping in for this Brentford fixture. But hopefully we'll have something to celebrate more than just a point this time around. But a lot of hoping on that one, I think.
Thank you to you, the fans, for checking out this video. Hopefully it's gone out before the Swansea game. Let's get behind the Cherries. Any win in any competition will be very much appreciated right now. Thanks for watching this episode. We'll see you on the next one from me, John, Aaron and Steve. Take care of yourself. See you soon. Up Cherries.
Up
the Cherries.
Up the Cherries.